Hello and welcome to RCN Unplugged, the podcast where we bring you the voices, stories, and insights that shape the Rotary Club of Nairobi. I'm your host, Farid Kimani, for today. And today we have an inspiring conversation lined up for you. Our guest is someone who brings a unique blend of leadership, innovation, and service to everything she does. She's a powerhouse in her field, a dedicated Rotarian, and a woman whose story is sure to leave you inspired. I won't give it all away. I'll let you introduce yourself. Welcome to Rotary Unplugged.
Thank you, Farid. My name is Mumbua Musyimi. In other quarters, Marilyn Musyimi. My background is in architecture. I practice architecture. I teach architecture. I live, breathe architecture. But this is all clothed in service. So Rotary is the thing that I really love.
Right.
Yeah.
Architecture is obviously quite a lucrative field, and I'm obviously not going to ask you how much money you make. But to be of service, it seems to be a priority for you more than anything else. And I know that there's a project that you're working on, which we'll get into a little bit later, with Bondeni School, and obviously your skills would come in handy with something like this. But tell me why service means so much to you.
It means a lot because I think to whom much is given, much is required. And so because I have all these skills, I think it's important to put them to use. And it's important to put them to use in a good and structured way. And that is what Rotary provides. Our values align. And so I have found it's a place where I can give of myself without feeling like I'm being taken advantage of, but also in a way that serves the community. And I'm assured that what I wanted to achieve is achieved through, the structures that are within Rotary, the other avenues of service that are brought in by other people. I'm able to combine my skills to have a bigger impact. So that's what that means.
But let's talk about leadership. Like any organization, be it Rotary, which is obviously a volunteer organization, or, a company that, turns over billions of dollars every year. It doesn't really matter. There's going to be the leaders in the organization. And I don't want to say followers because that's the wrong term, but those that put in the sort of sweat equity into the organization that may not be leaders. You've stepped in as a leader from almost day one. What do you attribute that to?
I think it's having that desire to translate your dreams into implemented projects. And the thing with Rotary is if you have an idea, the only way it's going to get executed is if your hands get dirty. And I think that has motivated me to not just talk about what I want to do, but actually step into the role and help to achieve what needs to be done. So that's what has motivated me into leadership. Again, Rotary is about service above self. So every time there's an opportunity, in spite of the reservations you may have, everything else that is going on, the real reason you're there is to serve. And if leadership is the way that you can serve in a season like now, then there's no point in holding back. So those are some of the things that have helped me to think, okay, leadership may be the thing to progress what I want to do in Rotary.
But also to set an example, right? I mean, we've got young Rotarians coming into the fold.
Yes.
There's Rotaract, and these guys usually graduate to become Rotary members, sort of Rotary Club of Nairobi or any other Rotary Club members. So, you're setting a path. I mean, from what I've seen, and I've been on the board of Rotary for 2 years. I'm not the most active member, as you know, as everyone knows. But from what I've seen, you really motivate people. You certainly motivate me to get more involved.
Wow.
Because you look at sort of WhatsApp groups, going, man, this person is really moving, and I've not really done anything. So is that motivation also key? Not just you to be a leader and get things done, which is obviously selfless in itself, because you're doing it as service. But is there also a part of you that wants to show the next generation that when you step into a role like this, take it seriously? And if you don't have the capacity, then maybe it's not for you?
Yes. So I did begin with saying that I teach architecture. So essentially, I'm a teacher. And I think that comes with what you're saying. Just being able to live what you're constantly preaching. So there's no way I can be telling people, look, you have to step up, and I don't step up myself. So that's part of it. And yes, setting an example, because you can't ask other people to do stuff that you're not willing to do yourself. So I'm hoping that having inspired people like yourself, I can ask for more from you,
Yeah.
it kind of gives you a moral authority to be able to say, okay, I need your help here. And because people see how much you put into it, it makes it easier even for people to step up in their own service.
You mentioned a few moments ago about getting your hands dirty, and I want to talk about this current project. I think it's almost at completion now.
Yeah.
And I've been sort of probably paying attention to this one more than many of the other projects in the past 2 years, which is the Bondeni School project.
Yeah.
Building, proper toilets for these kids, basically, if for lack of a better explanation. And you've really gotten your hands dirty. You're there. You're the one sending the pictures from the ground.
Yeah.
You're ensuring that. And I mean, Bondeni's not next door; it's far.
Yeah.
But you're making sure that. And I guess your role as an architect, or your career as an architect, you would be the right person. But finding the time. How do you strike that balance between work and sort of life? You're not sort of sitting back, saying send pictures from Bondeni and then I'll put them up on social media. You're not sort of calling shots from the distance. You are, quite literally getting your hands dirty.
Yeah. I think it's always to look at it as these things are not separate. Rotary is a part of my life, and so is my career. And so I don't see them as separate. And even when I'm planning out my day, it'll be one of my things to do. Yeah. So Rotary is part of my fitness, my health, my family, my things. I allocate time to it. And I think that makes it a bit easier. Of course, it's easier also because it falls squarely within my career. So it also helps me to, I think, progress that kind of experience. Bondeni is a new experience for me because it would actually be the first big CSR project I'm working on. The rest are motivated, of course, by money, and that comes with different kinds of things. So just seeing the impact that we can make is enough motivation to say, okay, maybe I'll sacrifice some time with my kids so that these other kids can have, a little bit of what my own children have. So that's the motivation behind it. It takes a lot of sacrifice. It does. You kind of have to eat into time for other things. But I think at the end of the day, it's worth it when you see what comes out of it, when you see the difference that it's making.
How old are your kids?
6 and 4.
So how do you explain that to a 6-year-old or a 4-year-old that, and I understand, I mean, I'm not in no way questioning your parenting style or the way you're a mother to your kids, because I think what you're doing is very is self-sacrifice. But how do you explain that? Is it an open conversation that we have this, they don't have this, and therefore you're going to help them to achieve things that they would not normally have?
Yes. Let me take the example of sleeping children around the world, because that's another big project that we do as Rotary. So when we're organizing it in May, it takes a lot of trips to the school, putting together the kits and everything. And what I would say to my children is, look, imagine if you didn't have a comfortable place to sleep and what that would feel like. And then I tell them there are all these tutors who we are helping to get a comfortable place. And so they're like, so when are you taking the mattresses to the tutors?
Amazing.
Yeah, so just making them understand they're a bit privileged. And sometimes mommy will have to take some of that privilege away to sort of even things out with other people that need my time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift focus a little bit here. I think it's amazing what you've done so far, and I can understand sometimes you must be going, is it worth it? And obviously it seems like service for you is sort of top of the pyramid.
Yeah.
So what are some of the challenges you've faced from a leadership perspective within Rotary? And I want to also touch on tradition versus innovation, because I think we can all agree, I speak for myself, that Rotary can often feel like it's stuck in an era. And, I think if you look at the board for 2024 and 2025, you can see a lot of younger, and when I say younger, I don't mean younger by age, younger thinking people, that individuals that are clearly have been put there to sort of take Rotary to the next level in terms of modernizing what
Yeah.
Rotary is, especially here in Kenya?
Now, the biggest challenge with Rotary, and especially our club, is you think you're a leader, but then you're in the room with all these other people who are way more phenomenal than you are. And then you have to, quote unquote, lead them in a certain aspect. So I think that's the most challenging thing you have to navigate. You have to navigate different cultures. Our club, I think, is very diverse in terms of culture, in terms of where people are coming from, in terms of their experiences as well. But I think we are tied by the values that we hold. So the thing that you have to navigate is, number one, the age, because I think we've had a higher than average age in terms of, older people within the club.
Yeah, we're not a young club.
We're not a young club.
If you take the average age, it's got to be somewhere above 50 for sure.
60, 70 maybe.
Is it really? Wow. Yeah, but you have to agree, the members are getting younger. And I know
Yes.
Rotaract plays a big role in sort of the feeding into what Rotary is.
Yes.
But even the ones who haven't gone through the Rotaract system, and I'll articulate it again. When I say younger, I'm not talking about age. I'm talking about in the way the club is thinking. I think that's important.
That's very important. And yes, there has been a renaissance, if you may, in the club. And people have come in with fresh ideas. But what I really like is we've been able to still maintain the culture of the club while at the same time doing fresh things. So, for instance, traditionally, we've met at lunchtime because people are busy, they have businesses to run and whatnot. But we've increasingly been able to convince the club, we can do a koroga here and there.
That was my idea.
There you go. So you're one of the young ones.
But that was not, honestly, that was actually something I suggested under President Susan's leadership.
Yes.
Was that, can we just have one meeting in a month to where we can meet in the evening?
Yes.
Because I've been to a few Thursday afternoon meetings, and sometimes you see 20 people and sometimes you see 8 people. So there's obviously a disconnect.
Yeah. And that kind of fresh thinking is working. We've had the book club, and that was really nice. So everybody is sort of finding a niche within the club, that fresh thinking. There's people who get together on Sundays to walk, which I find really nice. So I think we've struck a good balance between being old and being fresh, if you may.
Yeah. And I think it's important. The world is shifting anyway. We're not an old country. We're a young country. So I think it's important that these things happen. And you can see it in the output of Rotary, not just on social media, which is an obvious sign that we're obviously getting younger.
Yeah.
But just in general, in language, in the way we interact, etc. And let's talk about young people now. What is the board doing? And, that would probably be myself included, to not just attract, but then retain younger Rotarians.
I think there's a deliberate effort to include them. So you're aware the RCNC, Rotaract president, is part of our board. And I think there's no better way to include them than to just have them in the day-to-day running of our club. They're always welcome to our activities. We participate fully in theirs, like the installation that they had recently. And we take them along to all our projects. So like SCORE, we had Rotaractors assisting on each of the projects. Bondeni, we have a Rotaractor who incidentally is part of the county government. So that really helps. So just taking them along with us, I think bringing on board their ideas in terms of how they want us to interact with them, because it doesn't need to come from us, it needs to come from them, is how this board, I think, has embraced them. Yeah.
And again, having a Rotaract president on our board obviously then means that we're attracting the right kind of people from Rotaract to move up to the Rotary Club to the Rotary Club itself. Yes,
precisely. We're attracting them, but we're also, quote unquote, culturing them into it, so that it's a seamless flow into Rotary. I know it used to be a challenge a while back where when you turned 30, because that used to be the cutoff, you then ask yourself, do I really want to be a Rotarian? Am I that old? But if
30.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're 20, 30 is really old.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
So now just having them with us, I think breaks that stereotype. They don't feel like we're old. We become relatable, and then it's easier for them to transition and to identify with us. Yeah.
Um, how important is it for you not just to be a board member, but to be instrumental in choosing and helping to expose projects?
Um, it's important, and especially where I feel I can lend my expertise. So to be included in the decision making process gives you ownership. Yeah, so you're part of that decision making, so then you have to pull your weight. And I think it's important that we always do that kind of thing where everybody's included in deciding what are we going to do. So that's what helps. For instance, and I keep going back to SCORE because it was such an impactful project. The community service director asked, where do you want us to take these kids? And then we came up with sites. But the caveat was, if you proposed a site, then you had to run with it. And that's fine, yeah, because then you're invested already. So I think it's important to be given ownership because it kind of gives you that responsibility. Yeah.
That's amazing. Let's talk about sleeping children around the world.
Mm.
I know we had partnerships with Rotary Club, I think Rotary Clubs from different parts of the world as well.
Yeah.
But let's talk specifically about, just for the audience and those who are not Rotarians and wouldn't know what this is. So what is it and what were we trying to achieve?
So Sleeping Children Around the World has become almost a signature project for our club. We do it every year, supported by the Canadian organization called Sleeping Children Around the World. And the aim is really to improve the quality of sleep for children. And this is done by giving them a bed kit, which is basically a mattress, pajamas, sleepers, everything you need to sleep, but also whatever you need to take with you to school. So just giving you that psychological comfort of I can sleep well and I have everything I need for school. I think we've been doing it for the past 30 years, I think. I've only done it for the last, I think, 2 years. But once you do it, I think you can't look back. Last year, we did 5,000 children.
Wow.
This year, we did 7,000 children. And I think next year, we'll do even more children. We've been able to take it out of Nairobi to the rural areas where there's vulnerable children. And I think the impact is so great because it impacts not just the child, but the whole family and the community, and eventually just how well they're able to concentrate in school. And, it's a whole ripple effect. So that's SCORE in a nutshell.
I want to talk about this a bit more. 5,000 children, 7,000 children, and it seems like we'll probably hit close to 10,000 in this edition of it.
Yeah.
Something so simple, a mattress, pair of pajamas, some school supplies, things that probably all of us in this room took for granted at some point in our lives. When you're looking at the faces of these kids, is it an emotional experience?
It is. It's a very emotional experience. And it's not just the children, it's the guardians as well.
Right.
You see old men coming all the way, 5 kilometers, 7 kilometers to help their grandchild carry that stuff home. You can see the mothers, they've left their businesses, they're there in the morning to just come and receive that stuff. It's very emotional. Even when you see the gratitude on the teachers' faces, yeah, they're like, these children, they come from very needy backgrounds, but this thing is going to make a difference because they have a lunchbox where we can give them the lunch that, for instance, the government is providing. That takes away so much uncertainty, so much discomfort. And for a child, it makes such a big difference. Just knowing this thing is mine, yeah. I don't have to share with my brother. I don't have to wait for him to eat so I can have the lunchbox. I can carry my own water. These slippers are mine, yeah. It's a small thing that makes a very big difference.
So how important is it for, and again, I mean, I don't want to sort of make a sweeping demographic statement of Rotarians, but let's just talk about privilege.
Yeah.
I think those who are able to give generally come from a background where they can give, whether it's time or money or whatever it is. So how important is it for people like yourself, myself, to experience this, to understand not just how blessed we are, but how much more we can do?
Yeah. I think it's life-changing to see it from the lens of you have so much that others don't have, even if it's your skill. For instance, your giving of your time to do this podcast. It's not something we would have been able to do if you did not, help us to do it. And it's easy to take it for granted that, okay, I went to school, I'm an architect, and I can do this. But there's people who cannot access that service. And because they can't, their lives are short of something very critical, as maybe sanitary facilities. Yeah. So the difference between Bondeni having a sanitation facility and not is simply me giving a few hours in my week. And it's important to see where you can give of the skill that you have, of your time, or even of your resources, your money.
Yeah, even your networks, right? Bringing in people that can help,
Precisely.
whether it's family or you, if you have a wide network. What did they say? Your network is your network is your net worth anyway, right?
Yes.
So, and I think that's really important. Although being in Rotary, you are networked, but there's also people that you can bring in from your various networks. And that brings me to another question, which is what makes a great Rotarian, in your opinion?
Service above self, I think. Just think about what needs to be done. There'll always be personal stuff, yeah? And there'll be greater need always outside of yourself. So just to see where can I squeeze myself a little bit so that I can give something to the community. So yeah, service above self.
I mean, I think when I got sober, one of the first things I said is, there are enough hours in the day. You know what I mean? Which I think we use as an excuse all the time, right?
Yes.
Oh, there's not enough hours in the day.
Yes.
But actually, and I think your method of doing it is correct. You put it down. If it's family time, gym, work, Rotary has got its own little sort of slot there.
Yeah,
Even if it's an hour a day or whatever it is, you're giving that time to Rotary. And I think that's probably the way to do it, because everyone is busy.
Yes.
We all have to make money somehow,
Yes.
to support families and feed ourselves and feed our families, etc. So you need to allocate that time. Okay, moving on now to how Rotary, obviously with the work you do as an architect, but within Rotary, how does Rotary work with the government and civil service to sort of achieve its goals?
I think there's very many ways. The conversations we have shape policy. A lot of the community awareness we do is pretty much like civic education, especially around health. Health is a primary area. So we do cooperate with government, subnational government like counties, to give service to the community. When you think about the eye camps that we had, for example, last year, where Machakos County lent us the hospital and we brought in the expertise, that's some of the ways we collaborate. The other year, we were doing food distributions during the drought, and that was facilitated by the church and the local government, who then identify who are the people that are most in need, and then we can bring the resources that are needed. So I think civil society, government will show us where the need is, and then we'll come and plug the gap. But also we will identify some gaps, for example, in infrastructure. Where do people need water? Where do people need toilets? And then we will seek consent from the society and from government, and we'll provide those. So I think that's how we partner.
So it can be a case where we're needed to plug a gap that maybe government can't fill or civil society can't fill, but also to alert government and civil society that there's a need in this space or that space.
Precisely, yes.
Okay, interesting. Final question. Well, actually, I have two, but I'm going to add one. But what's your personal mission as a board member this particular year?
So my docket is membership, and I'm hoping to extend that feeling of belonging and family, because sometimes it can be the encounter is very brief, like at the lunchtime meetings. But how can we feel more like a family beyond, just giving the service and the networking? So that's my personal mission for the year.
I had a suggestion some time back, which is we should do like once every 2 months or 3 months a bowling night or like a game night. You know what I mean? Which doesn't have a start time and an end time.
Yes.
So, like from 6 o'clock on a Friday until...
Leave when you want.
I know Rotarians don't mind a few drinks, so that's fine. We can stay there as long as we need to, something like that would be nice.
Yeah.
I'm going to just ask this. We didn't prep you for this, but I think it could be quite nice as a surprise. What is a quote you live by?
It's in Kiswahili.
Okay.
And it's kusema na kutenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to now tell us what that means.
So that means put your money where your mouth is. Uh-huh. Basically, if you say you're going to do it, just do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for being on Rotary Unplugged. That was amazing.
Thank you.